Hey everybody, Craig Egan here. Just wanted to check in and give you an update. Sorry for the delay between videos, but we had a lot of really exciting stuff going on and I didn't want to spoil any surprises. So a couple of big announcements. First of all, after many stops of following the Vaxx bus around and them hiding from us, going to private locations, changing their venues, and overall trying to dodge any sort of protesting, we've decided that it's becoming a game of diminishing returns to try to drive 300 or 400 miles to maybe hope to see them and then not see them. So we're calling it good. We're going to call it a victory. We are going to start winding our way home. This last Wednesday, I actually, when they were in New York, wherever they ended up, I actually had a much better invitation. So I had the honor and privilege of going and visiting Dr. Paul Offit. Anybody who argues about vaccines for any period of time knows who Dr. Offit is, and they either consider him one of the greatest medical heroes of the modern day, or the #1 villain of the New World Order who is trying to depopulate the world and poison our children through toxic chemicals. But I think he's the first one. I think he's a hero. His rotavirus vaccine alone saves hundreds of thousands of lives a year, and his vaccine advocacy really sets the bar. So it was super cool. I wanted to try to get a video with him. I was thinking maybe I could talk him into injecting me full of, like 50 comically oversized vaccines adjusted to my weight, which is kind of big. But unfortunately, we didn't have time to do that because he actually had a different plan. So my girlfriend and I show up to meet him, and first of all, let me just say, he's the coolest, nicest guy I have ever met in my life. He's brilliant, he's funny, he's very gracious, he's very kind. He's very level-headed when talking about all the things that have been, all the attacks he's received. He's just absolutely everything you would hope for and more. I was nervous, I was shaking when I met him. He quickly put me at ease. We went and had lunch at the cafeteria of the campus there at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. We talked about anti-vaxxers, we talked about Andrew Wakefield. And like I said, I was going to ask him if he wanted to do a video with me, but he actually told me that because of the Stat News article that came out about me, that had kind of jumped the gun and leaked that I was going to visit him, he had another reporter call and say, hey, I hear Craig Egan's coming through town, he's going to have a meeting with you, is it okay if I tag along? So we end up going up to Paul Offit's office with a news person from a journalist from the local newspaper, the Philadelphia Inquirer. I'll have to look it back up. But I was nervous, but it was easily one of the most surreal experiences of my life, because here I am in this office with Dr. Paul Offit, and I have a journalist who's asking us questions together like we were peers of some sort, and I am in no way a peer of Paul Offit. But it was a humbling experience. It was very cool. Part of me wishes that we had a camera on for the whole time, because we talked for well over an hour, probably a good hour and a half. But part of me is also glad that it wasn't, because the conversation we had was so natural. It would have been different if we were trying to speak to a camera. So we talked about journalism, we talked about responsible media, we talked about grassroots efforts of like I do, things like that, different types of vaccine activism or advocacy, and then it takes a lot of voices to get to a lot of people. It was an absolutely amazing time. We had an amazing discussion, and I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. While we were there, we got to see his vast collection of books about vaccines, and then he had another table set up that had books that he had written. And he was like, hey, take as many as you want. And we didn't want to just sit there and start piling up our arms, because you could have, because he's written a lot of books. So we each picked one. Sharon picked out Autism's False Prophets. I picked out Do You Believe in Magic? Both excellent books by Dr. Offit. We'll come back to those. He also gave us a copy of Hillman, a story of Maurice Hillman. This is a vaccine developer. Well over half of the vaccines that are on the schedule right now were developed by this guy, and his name is sadly unrecognized in the normal populace. So this is a movie to try to change that. And then Dr. Offit says, you know what, actually, Craig, I want you to have this also. And he gave me this. This is the heaviest damn book I think I'm going to have in my collection for a minute. It is the official tome of vaccine knowledge. This is great. I'll I'll probably breeze through this in a couple of days, but it's all there. One of the other cool things that he did for me, and this is a personal favor that I'd asked him, over the years arguing about vaccines, I've had lots of people accuse me of some crazy stuff, some very vile things, some humorous things, some things that kind of get your head scratching. But one of my favorite things anybody ever accused me of was being Paul Offit's son. So I took the screenshot and I printed it out. It says, "I think Craig is Paul Offit's son," from Nicole Marie there. And I had him autograph it for me. Right now here it says, "Welcome to the family, Paul Offit, September 2017. So this makes it official. I am actually now legally Paul Offit's son. I think this means I have to consult with my attorney, but I think this means I get to move out of my mom's basement and into his basement, which, no offense, Mom, I think his basement might be a little nicer. So we're going to be doing that. I'm going to be going on family vacations with the Offit family soon. I may borrow his car for date nights. But I'm very excited to have met Paul Offit and to be accepted into his family. So that was cool. That alone would have made it probably one of the coolest days I have ever had. But wait, there was more. As we're winding through the streets of Philadelphia, trying to get to the Children's Hospital and figure out where to park, I get an email from the producer of the Dr. Drew radio show in Los Angeles, asking me if I went to interview with him later that day. And of course I did. I mean, in general, I am not a fan of celebrity doctors and that whole thing. Anybody who goes by Dr. First Name and has a TV show, in my opinion, is usually kind of suspect. But I give Dr. Drew a bit of a pass. I listened to a lot of Loveline as a kid, as a teenager, and for better or for worse, Teen Mom, you know, what Celebrity Rehab, whatever. I think Dr. Drew's pretty okay, and I was honored to be on his show. It aired. I put up a link. It was absolutely hysterical. It was super fun. It was probably one of the best conversational interviews I've ever had. So thank you to Dr. Offit. Thank you to Dr. Drew. Thank you to everybody who has been supporting us throughout the weeks. We've hit a lot of cities, we've hit a lot of states, we've put a lot of miles on the Prius, and we are heading home. We are heading back. We have 2 more interviews we're going to be publishing. One I did yesterday that I'm going to put out after this video with a very special friend of mine who was anti-vaccine until I took down a big anti-vax page and she saw the shit show that occurred and said, wait a minute, maybe these people aren't credible. And then we're going to New Mexico to visit another special friend, and I don't want to spoil that surprise. But we're back, we're heading home. We've had a great adventure, and we hope to see you soon. Love and light.